we will have a 10 minutes Q&A on this particular session. So may I invite Professor Dastidar, Professor Dwijen Bhattacharjya, and Mr. Ankush Bhandari to please come on the podium. And the questions and answers will be taken. Please write your questions, so we are asking.
Comment.
No.
Okay, forget it. What I was trying to say, thanks for their research. Professor Bhattacharjya knows I lived all this. They are talking, I lived, and I am alive in the face of almost sure death. This type of convention doesn't do even 1% justice to what happened in the genocide. Today, conference is needed just for Hindu genocide. And don't worry, some of my experiences is in the book. You donate to the organization and take a copy. So my experiences are in that book.
Thank you, sir. I will implore with folded hands to the audience, please send your questions by the question cards. No extempore comments, please.
Where is Ankush?
So, I am going to take the first question, and it is addressed to Professor Dwijen Bhattacharjya. What are the recommendations for a permanent solution to the security of Bangladeshi Hindus? Professor Bhattacharjya.
Okay. First recommendation is, please save secular democracy in Bangladesh. They're going to change they're doing a constitutional reform, and the whole purpose is to make it pro-Islamic. So if they can remove secular democracy, everything is gone. So my request, if you can, save secular democracy as it is enshrined in the original constitution of the country, number one. And this is a request to Government of India and Donald Lu, US government. That's it, plain. When again I repeat, when they reform the constitution, which is happening now, and I believe they have hired Professor Ali Riaz from Illinois University. It was Shahidin Malik, but he's joining. Please try to do that, save it. If you can save them, you can also save the minorities of the country. This is my recommendation number one. Recommendation number two, I'm giving only 2 here out of the 8 I have in the written paper. Okay, number 2 is, please have our ambassador, US ambassador to the United Nations, to talk to the Secretary General. Have him talk to the Army General, so Army, Police, and Dr. Yunus, that if they want to continue to work in the peacekeeping forces, it's a highly lucrative job for them. You are a police officer, you get 170,000 tax-free. My friend worked here. So it's a highly lucrative job. They want to work for the United Peacekeeping Force 3 times in their lifetime. If you tell them you have to stop religious and ethnic cleansing in your country, if you cannot, then you cannot work in peacekeeping elsewhere in the world. They will, trust me, they will comply. This is the only way to do that. Only thing they understand is this kind of sanction. These are the 2 recommendations. For India, we have a set of recommendations which I don't want to go into here. Thank you so much. These are the 2 main recommendations.
Very well said.
I'll go to the next question and I'll address it to Professor Dastidar. And the question is, at a social level, what explains the apathy of Bengali Hindus to their own plight, especially Indian Bengalis?
I'm sorry, I don't answer because I do not consider ourselves to be living beings. Even we are worse than animals. A cow protects the baby. We do not. We have not. If you go to even dogs, it protects its children. We do not. And so, and when I go and try to help minorities, how many of them come? There are people who do help, but very small. Even when I go and come back, I'm not afraid of anybody. I never hide my identity. And I've been helped by, even protected by stranger Muslims. When I took first trip from Dhaka, I had to go by boat to overnight. A stranger came there to protect me and our kids and myself. So we have that. But when I go back to India, left and right is often saying, how come you have, there's a Bengali saying, how come you have come back with your head on your shoulder? Matata munduta ki kore ache. So because they think if you go there, you'll be murdered. So then I say, you are fighting here for Vietnam, for South Africa, for American blacks, or Palestinians, which is fine with me, but why not your parents? So you asked a very important question, and I have become very, 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 very critical of ourselves. And by the way, give me 30 seconds. See, in I started writing in 1990s. So there was a radio program in New York run by a Muslim gentleman. He one time saw me. He says, "How come you are trying to protect Hindu minorities? Because your parents are driven out and Hindus do not protest. How come you are doing that?" So I said, "Listen, I consider that my home, and I am going to protect it." Then one day he went into radio and just went into absolute vulgar. And this Dr. Bhattacharjya next day went and with somebody protested and tried to block him. At least we have people like that. At least please give also our hand. She is the one who spoke to President Trump about the oppression of Hindus. So I wish we have people like that. One Mr. Rajiv Verma in Texas invited me. He is not Bengali, he is not refugee, doesn't speak Bangla, to even speak about my book. So this has broken the Indian identity, Hindu identity, plus please give them little hand because they are really, really very, very wide and very proud people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Dastidar, for your kind comments. My next question, I'm summing 2 or 3 questions, will go to Mr. Ankush Bhandari. Although he has tried to answer it, but I think a direct question is required. Why is this deep-seated animosity in the Western media and Western civic polity against Hindus?
That's a very difficult question, but I will try to answer it as per my knowledge and my understanding. I think it's all started with the white supremacy, because these people, if you see, just go back 100 years back, if you see, these people are either, they don't know anything. They were, in fact, nomads, what we call, right? But for the global south, if we see, we were the people who are rich in everything, culture, minerals, values, etiquettes, everything, right? And these people are still living way behind that. This is the reason when they came to US, they killed all the indigenous people. When they landed in India, they tried to divide the society, divide and rule. That's what they are doing. Ottoman Empire, if you see Indian continent, Indian subcontinent, Korea, Soviet Union, means the list is endless. We can have a library on that. Divide and rule. And the second part they do is try to portray somebody as he's a villain. Like in 2019, everybody I think remember what they published. Modi, divided in chief. 15 days he will, he become the messiah of everybody. If I propagate something, doesn't work, shift it.
Thank you, and Ankush, you have given a very proper answer. My last question will go to Mrs. Priya Saha. And the question is, there are other questions, but in interest of time, we'll just take 4 questions each of the panelists. Does recognition of Hindu genocide in Bangladesh by US will do any good? What would it achieve?
Thank you for your question. Yes, when the US government is going to recognize it. So the next step will be, they will make accountable the perpetrators who made this genocide. Without a resolution or a bill, if we do not have anything official support, then how we are going to make them accountable? So this resolution will be a great help, and it will help us to get recognition from United Nations too. Thank you.
Can I add just one thing? One second. Did you know that, or how many of you know, that 1971 genocide was supported by the United States?
Yes.
Yes, we know.
Yes.
We sent our Navy to continue this genocide. And why didn't you protest in public?
Thank you, Professor Dastidar, for making that historical observation. We are going to take a break for lunch, 30 minutes break. We will reconvene at 12:45. We are trying to bring the schedule into order. My thanks to Professor Dwijen Bhattacharjya, Professor Sachi Dastidar, Mr. Ankush Bhandari, and Mrs. Priya Saha. May I remind that ICHRRF, in a recent press release last month, had made a demand, a charter of demand, 10 points, 10 demands, and I will invite all of you to go to the website of ICHRRF. We have dealt with the issue, what the world needs to do about what is happening in Bangladesh, because you have to stop it now. You have to stop it now before it becomes a torrent of hemorrhaging human beings. Sorry to say that, but please go ahead and read that. We will continue with the discussions. We are taking a lunch break for 30 minutes.